Hi, you're watching BLISS, and this is an exclusive interview that we have today with the psychologist, author, and talent for the show Love Addiction on TV1, Dr. Alduan Tartt. Thank you for having me over to your office today.
Hey, thanks for coming all the way down.
Yeah.
Quite a drive. I feel so honored.
It was a nice drive, and I love Atlanta and love coming out here. So we're going to just talk about a few things about your profession and the show. For one, how long have you been practicing in psychology and writing books?
I've been in psychology going on 11, 12 years now. I've been doing it for a long time. I am young. I just didn't stop. I came straight out of graduate school, started practicing, then take a summer off. So about 12 years.
Okay. And what school did you go to?
I went to Morehouse College and then the University of Michigan. And then I was out in Los Angeles for a while and then came back here to Atlanta. And I love it. It's the best profession in the world.
So you see all kinds of patients in your practice. You say you're a clinical psychologist.
Right.
So you deal with not just singles, but you deal with married couples too?
Right, I see a lot of children. I see mostly children. The relationship stuff I do is just a change of pace that I do mainly for the general public. But here in the office, I see a lot of singles, but mostly I see children. I got into doing relationship advice, Tatiana, from talking to the moms, of the kids that I see. That's how that's how it started.
Okay. And so what made you interested about giving advice in the relationship aspect? Like, what made you feel qualified? Because sometimes people don't feel like they're qualified to give that kind of advice.
I mean, you're right, especially within the African American community, there's a lot of mess out there. I started because I was interested in family. And from talking to the kid, it became obvious that I had to stabilize the family. So a lot of times that meant talking to the mom and dad about what was going on, but more commonly, unfortunately, talking to the single mom about dating advice, relationships. Of course, it would affect my clients. So at that point, maybe this was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I started really diving into the research behind relationships. And I knew everything there was to know from a clinical psychology standpoint about children and relationships. When it comes to came to the adults, I had to go back and bring myself up to speed on the latest research. But I've always been interested in relationships. Always been getting advice, but now I'm giving professional advice in terms of what the research says and how to apply it. See, that's what's missing, is that I call it the ivory tower, to where there's this great body of information, but people don't know about it. So to me, it doesn't serve its complete purpose if only the researchers know about it and the people are divorcing at an alarming clip. So I decided to give them that information.
Let's go into your books. So what was your first book and what was it about?
All right, first book is called The Ring Formula, How to Marry Mr. Right. And then I revised it to the current one called The Ring Formula, How to Be the Only One He'll Ever Need. And Tatiana, believe it or not, I wrote that book for fun. I was coming out of my own relationship and wanted to get into another. And I said, you know what, let me write a book for fun. And it took off. Because when I started doing the research with other books, I didn't like what was out there. Now this is before Hill Harper's book, before Steve Harvey's book. I think we're all writing probably around the same time. But I just didn't like what was out there. It was a lot of fluff, especially within the African American community. So I wanted to write something that was geared towards African American women, that was empowering, that was saying, hey, we're out here. Don't believe what you hear in the media about there being no black men. I see quite the opposite. You just have to know where to find us and how to date us so that we'll want to marry you.
Absolutely. Well, that's an issue that I come across with a lot of friends that I have, a lot of readers, for example, might have that same issue. Well, what's one of the tips that you have in that book about how to find someone who is very considerate, who happens to be a guy, and all the excellent qualities that we're looking for?
All right, so I can go a myriad of ways. Let me start with probably the first question I get is where to find black men after. There's so many women, especially African American women, that can't find, have no access to men that they're even remotely attracted to after college. And so one of the things I say is you have to get out. You have to go out of your house. You have to get out of the house. You have to go in the community and network. You have to purposely position yourself around men. Now, of course, when I'm speaking in churches, they do not like that. They believe he who finds a wife finds a good thing. But then I let them know that Ruth found Boaz in the field, working in his field, and she was purposely there. Ruth told her, go there. And she laid at Boaz's feet. Now, I'm not telling Christian women go, sit on men's laps. But I am saying, in order to be found, you have to be out doing the Lord's work. And I think that there are too many beautiful, Christian, available, phenomenal women that are sitting at home waiting on a man to knock on their door. And that's never going to happen. You have to get out there and introduce yourself to men. And Christian men are in the world.
You're right.
That's another problem that I see is when I speak at singles ministries, Tatianah, it's mostly women. Men don't like singles ministry. The numbers.
Why is that the case?
The numbers are just too unequal. I mean, you want attention, but to be part of the 10 to 20% that makes up most singles ministries, men feel uncomfortable. They feel like pieces of meat. And a lot of men have, issues about, for lack of a better word, picking up women in church when you're supposed to be getting the word.
Right.
And typically, singles ministries are geared towards women. I don't even like the term singles ministry.
Right.
Because it says people don't like the term single. So it's almost like we're telling people that want to be in relationships, this is how you remain single. So I say, if we're going to have a ministry, why don't we call it future relationship ministry? That's what everyone wants. We don't have poverty ministry. We have prosperity ministry. We have marriage ministry. Well, I don't think we should have, a singles ministry. People don't even like the term single.
But what about the singles who don't want to be married? Like they might have been married before and divorced, and they're like, okay, I tried it, I don't want to do that anymore. Where would they fall?
I don't believe they're telling the truth. I think that there are a number of people that have been hurt by love, and if you could guarantee to them that they could be successful, who wouldn't want companionship, especially women? I hear a lot of women say, I don't want to get married. I mean, in reality, they're saying, I'm afraid. And a lot of men say, I don't want to get married. In reality, they feel insufficient, or their income is not to the point where they feel they can sustain a family, or they feel they're going to fail at it, or get hurt. But most people want companionship. It's why we were created, to couple and to be our rib. Who wants to walk around ribless as a man,
Right. Thank you for that information. And can you tell me about your second book, or the book that's not
The first book was just a small pamphlet. Not a pamphlet, it was small, and it took off faster, which is why I said, okay, I need to add more cover art. I got flooded with a series of questions, and that's when all the media took off. That's when Black Men Revealed and MTV and Fantasia, all that stuff started taking off faster than what I was ready for. That was not the intention. God just told me to write the book, and of course, abundance, started to flow because I was really pouring into women. And Tatianah, the book has a lot of Christian principles, but I don't preach. I meet people where they are, just like my clients. We don't judge. It's the beautiful thing about psychology. Whatever you walk into the room, with is where we meet you, and then we take you to where you need to be. So I revised it based upon the questions that I was getting from men and women, and then I revised it and put it in the book.
Do you feel like a lot of your clients are Black Christian singles?
Absolutely. As a therapist, it's almost impossible to do therapy without talking about someone's faith. And that's because if you think about what's central to people, you ask them, what makes up your core? Most people start with their spiritual beliefs. Before they're male, before they're African American, before they're Democrat or Republican. A lot of people start right in the middle, including myself, is that I identify more as a Christian than I would as a man. So if you're a Christian female, we'll probably connect faster than someone who's an atheist male. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it comes up a lot. And plus, when you start talking to people about faith and hope, you run out of positive psychology. You run out of optimism. You run out of techniques in therapy. Sometimes it gets to a point, especially with children, where you have to say, you just have to believe. Or you're able to talk to them about how they can have peace. And the Bible is the best book about giving you stories and helping you to have a sense of joy no matter what's going on. So it's very difficult to do therapy without it. And I find that 95% of my clients really enjoy that.